All right, here with Mark Workman of the victorious Liberty Raiders. And Mark, your son Jackie just had we think he went over 200 rushing tonight. Just talk about his performance tonight. 3 touchdowns, the big one he hit in the second half, huge. His performance tonight.
Well, it was, he started coming on last week, and this week is kind of, I believe, a carryover from last week. But, listen, let's point the fingers where the fingers needs to be pointed. And that's those hogs up there in front of him that's paving the way, And we've always told them, both backs, with Isaac, with Jaxson, and we tell our line, hey, man, if we can get these 2 guys to the second level, it could be lights out for everybody. So, we was able to do that tonight, to get those guys at a second level, and, this is the result of it. But those guys up front needs the credit.
I kind of felt like you guys were starting to come into your own and would kind of take over this week, which is what happened. And the guys up front did a great job. Why do you think that it was this week that these guys, it all came together for you?
Well, I think, like it's a piggybacking off of last week with Pikeview. We really felt like we left 2 or 3 scores up on the board against Pikeview. We stalled out 3 times down inside the 20-yard line. So, and we preached all week, man, that we can't, we're not good enough right this second to stall out drives inside the red zone. So we really got to work on getting that. This is probably the first game in 2 or 3 years that we've had a couple big play touchdown scores. And, that's what these guys are capable of. So, but like I said, it all starts up front.
Defense, go ahead, bro.
Talk about those guys up front a little bit, because, you were a little short-handed up there.
Oh, we was.
Your starters, right?
We was. I started a freshman in James Tony, number 73, that really come in last week against Pikeview and really got after it. And I ain't going to lie to you, Jaxson looked at me on the way home Friday night and he said, Dad, James blocked his ass off tonight. And, he's just a freshman. So, had a kid go down with Walker Smith, so he moved in. And then Alex Gerald, number 62, he didn't play tonight. We moved Caden Cook in there, number 55. He's a big old rascal, but he's just a sophomore, not played since 8th grade. So, and so far, looking at the eye test here tonight, he done a good job. Yeah. So, and then we put Cooper Akert in there, big Coop. He's a junior, and he's 6'2", 320 pounds. When we went into our single wing, and he helped pave the way there. So, they blocked well.
Defense probably won't get noticed as much as they maybe should, but after that first quarter, which was wild back and forth, they really stood up. You gave up no more points.
Well, that's what I told them right there in the huddle. I told them, I said, guys, what's the score? They told me, and I said, what was the score? What did Greenbrier West have at the end of the first quarter? And I said, you pitched a goose egg for 3 quarters, so now we got to repeat that. So, and listen, they played well. We gave up a big play right there on that screen pass, but other than that, they really didn't threaten a whole lot in the second half, or even the third, from the second quarter on, they really didn't threaten a whole lot with us. So our defense settled down after the first quarter and started making plays.
And it's not going to get any easier next week, I think. And James Monroe, I believe, lost pretty handily tonight to Bluefield. Which ain't Bluefield, but it doesn't get any easier going on the road for the first time.
Oh, it don't. James Monroe, man, those kids are tough, man. Every year they're tough. I don't care. They could be 0-9 and they come here, we go there, and they're going to give you everything they got. You know what I'm saying? They're scrappy. They're hay fed. They're big nasty kids, and they get after it, and they got some athletes. So it don't get no easier next week, but we got to prepare this week. We got to celebrate this one, and then we got to get back to work on Monday and get ready for them.
Talk a little bit about the game breaker, right there to start the second half. That was a huge play. You get 73 yards for a touchdown. That kind of set the tone for the second half a little bit.
Well, it did. That was our game plan at halftime. I was going in, and Connor Akert asked me. I said, Connor, one break single wing got in the second half. And he said, Coach, let's do it. So we prepared all half, and we worked a little bit of it this week. And, then we got there at halftime, and we went over a few things with it. And I told him, I said, listen, we're going to run this single wing, and we're going to punch it down their throat. We're going to punch it in the end zone. And we didn't have to punch it nowhere. We punched one play, and Jaxson takes off 73 yards. So, and it's just, plays like that can be backbreakers.
Right.
And that would have been a backbreaker play if we would have finished the next drive, but we stalled out down here inside the 25. So, you know, I mean, we set ourselves up to finish that then.
Right.
We just didn't finish
So
it.
you
We
put
got to
that in the
start
second
finishing.
half. You
Yeah.
put that in the
Second half, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
interesting.
Jaxson said. I mean, we
interesting
just put that in, and they weren't ready for it.
They wasn't ready for it. So, you know, I mean, that's part of it. But, you know, that's a credit to my kids.
Right.
That, you know, we can run different stuff like that, and they know how to run it. Now, it's not that we haven't worked it before, because we worked it. We ran it for the last 3 years in
Right,
spots.
right.
So these kids are very familiar with it. So, you know, it's just something to have in our back pocket.
How
So,
much did you run that in the second half? That formation?
we run it for probably 2 or 3 drives in the third quarter, and then we got in it right there at the end
Right.
and ran it. That's what we scored the last touchdown on.
All right, Mark, appreciate you.
Hey, man, always. I appreciate y'all guys.